I was talking to a friend about getting a new coffee machine. Out loud, in my living room, phone sitting on the table nearby. An hour later, I opened Instagram and there was an ad for a coffee machine. Not a brand I had searched. Not something I had clicked on. A coffee machine. After a conversation, I did what most people do. I picked up my phone, looked at it like it had just betrayed me, and said out loud, "You are listening to me." My phone did not respond, which somehow made it worse. Here is the thing. That story is real. The feeling behind it is real, but the explanation most people reach for is almost certainly wrong, and the actual truth is simultaneously less dramatic and more disturbing. I work in design and video, which means I spend a lot of time thinking about how visual systems communicate things, and phones, it turns out, are very good at communicating one thing, while quietly doing something else entirely. Let me start with the question everyone is actually asking. Is your phone listening to your conversations? The honest answer, based on everything researchers have tested and documented, is no. Not in the way you are imagining. Multiple independent security researchers have run controlled experiments. They set up phones in rooms, had people speak specific words and topics out loud near those phones, then monitored all network traffic leaving the device. No audio was transmitted correlating with those conversations, not from Facebook, not from Google, not from TikTok. Meta has stated publicly, and Mark Zuckerberg confirmed under oath to Congress, that Facebook does not use microphone audio to target ads. Google states that its assistant only listens for wake words and does not process any other audio for advertising. Apple paid $95 million in early 2025 to settle a class action lawsuit over Siri. The settlement covered users from 2014 to 2024. The lawsuit alleged that Siri accidentally activated during private conversations and shared snippets with advertisers. Apple did not admit wrongdoing, but the settlement itself confirmed that accidental recordings were a real and documented problem. So microphone use for targeted advertising is not proven. But here is where it gets more interesting. The reason you keep seeing eerily relevant ads after conversations is not because your phone is listening. It is because behavioral tracking without audio is already so accurate that it does not need to listen. Researchers found that behavioral inference from browsing history and app usage can determine your interests and intentions with 90% accuracy. 90%, without hearing a single word you said. Your phone knows who you text. It knows where you go. It knows how long you stare at certain types of content. It knows what you buy and what you almost bought. It knows your sleep patterns from when your screen turns off. It knows your emotional state from how fast you scroll and what content you pause on. This is not speculation. These are documented categories of data collection that are happening right now on your device. 44% of US adults already believe it is impossible to go through daily life without companies collecting their data. They are not being paranoid. They are being accurate. 82.8% of iOS apps collect private user data, according to recent research. More than 80% of the apps on your phone are gathering something about you. And 33% of people significantly underestimate how many apps on their phone have access to their location. Think about that. A third of people have no idea how many apps are tracking where they physically are. Right now, in real time. Here is something that stopped me when I first read it. Your phone is not just collecting data through the apps you consciously open. The real mechanism is something called third-party software development kits, or SDKs. These are small pieces of code that app developers embed in their apps from advertising companies, analytics companies, and data brokers. When you download almost any free app, you are downloading that code too, even though it is invisible to you. A typical free app contains somewhere between 3 and 10 of these third-party SDKs. Each one is a separate data collection system running quietly in the background while you use the app. The flashlight app that needed your contacts and microphone when you installed it. The game that requested your location. The calculator that asked for access to your photos. These permission requests exist because an SDK somewhere needs that data. And the developer got paid to include the SDK. You agreed to all of it. In a terms of service document that was designed to not be read. Only 24% of American smartphone users say they feel in control of their personal data, according to a 2026 survey by Whistleout. The other 76% feel like something is watching them. They are right. They are just wrong about exactly what it is watching. And how. Let me tell you about something called dark patterns. Dark patterns are design choices made specifically to get you to agree to things you would not agree to if the choice were presented clearly. The cookie consent banner that has a big bright button saying accept all and a small gray link in a different corner saying manage preferences. That is a dark pattern. The app that makes it 3 screens deep to turn off location tracking but 1 tap to turn it back on. Dark pattern. The privacy policy written at a reading level that requires a college education, structured so that even if you read it, the key parts are buried in paragraph 47. Dark pattern. The FTC has documented and taken action against dozens of these practices in recent years. Researchers at Princeton University created a dataset of over 11,000 instances of dark patterns across retail websites and apps. They found that the overwhelming majority of free digital services use at least one of them. This is the part that bothers me most about how we talk about phone privacy. The question is not whether your phone is secretly recording you in some dramatic surveillance movie way. The question is whether you ever genuinely consented to what your phone is doing, and the honest answer is probably not, because genuine consent requires understanding what you are agreeing to, and the systems you are interacting with are specifically designed to prevent that understanding. Here is a specific example that became public knowledge. In 2023 and 2024, it was documented that certain apps were taking hidden screenshots of the content on your screen during app sessions and sending those images to servers. Not audio, screenshots of what you were reading, what you were typing, what you were looking at. This is legal in most cases because it is disclosed somewhere in a terms of service agreement. But when researchers actually told users about it, the reaction was universally, "I did not know that was happening." That gap between what is technically disclosed and what people actually know is happening is where your privacy actually lives. Now let me come back to the coffee machine. I went and looked at the actual explanation for why that ad appeared. A few days before that conversation, I had been looking at coffee equipment in a general way. I had browsed some kitchen pages. I had been to a website that had advertising SDKs embedded in it. My location data showed I had recently been near a kitchen store. An advertising algorithm triangulated from all of those signals that I was probably in a coffee machine buying moment. It served me the ad. It did not hear a word of my conversation. And that is arguably more unsettling than if it had just listened, because at least listening would have a clear boundary. What actually happened has no obvious boundary at all. 45% of Americans say their personal information has been stolen or exposed in a data breach in the past 5 years. That is nearly half of the country. Half the people around you have had their data taken somewhere, and most of them probably could not tell you exactly where it went. Here is what I actually did after I understood all of this. I went through my phone and audited my app permissions, not because I thought it would make me completely private, but because there is a difference between sharing data that I understand and sharing data that I had no idea I was sharing. 54% of users say they would delete an app if they knew it was collecting location data without a clear reason. But most people never check which apps already have that access. The check takes about 10 minutes. On iPhone, it is under Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Location Services. On Android, it is under Settings, then Privacy, then Permission Manager. I revoked location access from 11 apps that had no legitimate reason to know where I am. A puzzle game, a coupon app, a weather app that could have just used my zip code. None of those apps broke when I removed the permission. They worked fine. They just stopped knowing where I was. Your phone is not lying to you in the way a person lies. It is not hiding a secret recording device under the floorboards. It is doing something quieter and more pervasive. It is building a model of who you are from hundreds of small signals you never noticed you were sending. And then that model gets sold, shared, used, and occasionally stolen. The coffee machine ad was not proof that your phone can hear you. It was proof that it does not need to. And that is either a relief or a much bigger problem, depending on how carefully you have been reading this.